Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I'm Darla and this is Growing Tropical. And in today's video, we're going to be tackling soft shell scale. I don't know what your experience is with them, but with me, I deal with these little critters like all year long, and they are a real pain in the butt. And particularly their choice of plant is my crotons. And so I am diligently trying to get in front of it, for lack of a better term, and try to get them taken care of. Now, I have been battling these, for on and off for a number of years in this particular planter bed. And so far, they haven't done so much damage that I'm going to have to take them back down to the bare bones like I did a couple of years ago. I had to take them down. I mean, I cut them down. They look like skeletal sticks. It was absolutely horrible. But they're not that bad right now, so that is a good thing. I did, however, right here, I do have this particular croton. I believe this was a Mr. Freckles, and this croton right here, unfortunately, I had to go ahead and just cut him down to the bare bones. I was a little sick about doing it, but there's really no choice. When those soft shell scales, when they do their damage, they make the leaves so nasty, because what happens is it's like a cycle. You get those soft shell scales all over the stem. And then what happens is, as they're eating the sappy substance from the actual plant, they actually excrete a honeydew. And then that honeydew attracts, bees, and it attracts ants, and it attracts wasps. I mean, you name it. And then what ends up happening is you develop a sooty mold. So you just have a recipe for a whole lot of ugly with the start of these soft shell scales. Last year, what I did was I started using, a chemical. Actually, it's an organic product, and let me show you. It is Captain Jack's Dead Bug by Bonine, and I was spraying this quite a bit all over these crotons. And I was using this actually on my other crotons as well, and it was working. It seemed to be working. And like I said, I don't have any of those scales on the other crotons that are in these flower beds, except for these right here. And I thought, gosh, why is this not working? And so what I did was I kind of switched my game up a little bit, and I went a little bit stronger. And keeping within the Bonine company, I went ahead and I used a systemic granule. And now this is a little bit more aggressive in the fact that it's a little more toxic. And I believe the main ingredient in this is imidacloprid, and it is like a 0.22% strength. And so what I did was I followed the label instructions on the back, and I went around, and because it's systemic, you apply it on the base of the plant, and because it's systemic, it actually goes down into the roots. As you water it in, the system of the plant takes it up, and it comes out through the stems and the leaves. Thereby, anything that is going to be chewing and sucking on that plant is going to die. Now, I generally don't like to use that so much on like flowering plants, because obviously, pollinators, if they're going to, get into the plants or whatever, and they do their pollination thing, I certainly don't want to harm them. The crotons do not bloom, so I felt like, okay, I could do this, and it would be, hopefully very effective, and yet, a bit safe for my pollinators. So I did that, and for the most part, it seemed like it was working, but it still wasn't working like all the way. I want to just get rid of these scale, for good. Now I know that they'll probably try to come back, but if I can get rid of that initial infestation and start clean, then I can go in, I can go back and start using, hopefully, this solution right here, which is the much more safer solution, because again, like I said, it was working on the other crotons that I had in the yard. So anyway, with all that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my game plan up just a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep with that same chemical, imidacloprid, but I'm going to bump it up just a little bit more, because again, that product seemed to be working, but it just, no matter how much I was putting on there, I just couldn't seem to push it over the edge and get rid of those scales. So I thought, I've been doing a lot of reading and just kind of, doing my due diligence to figure out, what I could do. And everything was leaning towards going with a higher strength. So I bought a product, and imidacloprid, the same chemical, but it is a 0.5%. So I just kind of bumped it up in strength just a little tiny bit. And that is what I'm going to be using on these crotons this time. Like I said, we're in March. I'm hoping that I'm only going to have to use it maybe, you know, 1 or 2 times, where I can just go ahead and completely eradicate those scale. And then, you know, just by coming out and looking at them, you know, as the months go by, if I see anything that is even remotely trying to, you know, form on the stem, then I can go back in and I can, you know, spray them with something a little less toxic. So that is the game plan for these crotons. And again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim them back. I'm also going to go with my hose and I'm going to knock off, you know, take my finger and just kind of go up and down on the stems and knock off any of the scale that I can. Unfortunately, they're going to go down into the ground, but with that systemic, hopefully, if I do a soil drench, I will be able to kill those, you know, even on the soil surface. So that, again, that is the game plan. So the other thing that I'm going to be addressing in this planter is my Chrysaandra. I love the Chrysaandras. They're absolutely beautiful. They are perennial and they come back year after year. And they are right here and they are very leggy and they look a little ugly right now. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going ahead and I'm going to be trimming them back down really super low. I'm going to take probably a good almost 3/4 of the plant off. Half to 3/4 I'm going to take it way down because I want that new growth to get nice and dense in the base of the plant. And a little bit about Chrysaandra, when they're absolutely beautiful here in South Florida because they love our summer. When it starts getting hot, when it starts getting humid, they ramp up and their color is absolutely beautiful. I have an orange marmalade here in my planter beds, but they come in a salmon, like a salmon, like a salmon color. They come in pinks. They even come in yellows, and they are quite stunning. They put on a large, like tubular spike, and it's, gosh, probably 5 or 6 inches long, and the whole spike, I wish I had one for you. Actually, I'm going to pop up on the screen if I can find, which I think I can probably find, what these guys looked like last year in this flower bed. They are just as pretty as they can be, and the more that you fertilize them, I shouldn't say the more you fertilize them, regularly fertilizing them makes their leaf really nice and dark, and they're real shiny. The leaves are real shiny. And then of course, you know, if you put like a bloom booster on there, you're going to get a you're going to get a lot of blooms. And the other thing that I do with these is I do deadhead them, because deadheading them does promote more blooms. And so I come out periodically after I see like a flush of blooms, and as they're dying off, you can see the new buds actually forming. And so I come out with my little scissor and I just take off those long stems, the dead stems, and then it just gives another flush of growth. And they go through, you know, from spring, summer, fall, they just go through and they look absolutely beautiful. They're a little bit, they don't look as good as what they did last year at this time, primarily because we did have a little bit of a cooler winter this year. Nothing by the way of freezes, but we did have temperatures that went down into the upper 30s and lower 40s. And let's face it, y'all, tropicals do not like those type of temperatures. So got a lot going on in this flower bed today. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and get started with trimming back the Chrysaandra, trimming and cleaning up the crotons, and then going and putting the imidacloprid on the base of those plants so I can get it down inside there. And as all the new growth starts coming up, hopefully with any luck, I'm going to be completely scale free. So that is the plan. So let's go ahead and get to trimming up this flower bed. Okay, you guys, I'm all finished with this flower bed. I went through and I just, I pulled back some of the mulch. I roughed up the soil that's underneath of it, which I needed to do that anyway because I wanted to I like to be able to pull the mulch away from the base, and I like to be able to kind of just rough up that soil and everything so that way fertilizer can actually be taken up into the roots and do its job. And I wanted to also do that with the insecticide that I put down on there. Now, as I spoke earlier in this video, I did use an imidacloprid, a 0.5% strength. You have to just get your square footage and follow the label directions, which is extremely important because you are dealing with a little bit more of a toxic chemical. So you definitely want to make sure that you are using best management practices. And you also want to make sure that before you use any type of, stronger chemical where you have to get aggressive sometimes, you also identify, what you have going on. In this particular case, I knew that I had soft shell scale going on, and I knew that this particular tech chemical would take care of it. I just needed to bump it up in strength, I feel, just a little bit. So anyway, I went ahead and measured everything out. I went on each individual croton and I put it around the baseline, and now it's going to be really super important for you to make sure that I water it all in, because by watering in those granulars, I'm going to be making sure that it goes down into the roots and it's taken up into the system of the plant. That way, hopefully over the next couple of weeks, it will start taking effect as I get new growth, because that new growth, boy, that soft shell scale will just like go right after that new soft tender growth. Or that leafy tissue. So anyway, this one I'm a little disappointed because I did have to cut it back so severely, but I'm confident that it will come back because I had to do this a couple of years ago. I'm going to just fertilize it, and I'm not going to fertilize it. I'm going to water this in really well, and then probably in about a week I'm going to come back out here and I'm going to put some fertilizer on there, and it's going to be the fertilizer for my palm tree. So definitely stay tuned for that video coming up, because that is a whole different game when it comes to fertilizing your palms. So you guys, until the next video, bye for now.